Now let's talk about homeostasis in your blood. So remember, homeostasis is an overriding thing that's important for many things in your body. The aspect we're going to look at here is oxygen and viscosity. So for oxygen, you need your blood to carry lots of oxygen. The more oxygen, the better. So this means having lots of red blood cells. The more red blood cells you have, the more oxygen you can carry. But red blood cells also increase the viscosity of your blood. So the more red blood cells you have, the thicker your blood is. Viscosity means how thick your blood is. If your blood gets too thick, then you won't be able to pump it and it won't flow through your blood vessels. So you have to find a balance between these. You need a balance where you have lots of red blood cells to carry oxygen, but not too many that your blood gets too thick. So your kidney is what maintains this balance. Your kidney filters your blood. As it does, it monitors the oxygen level. So we have here your kidney. It's filtering your blood, and as it is, it monitors your oxygen. If it notices that oxygen has dropped, so if your kidney detects a drop in oxygen, let's see what could cause oxygen to drop. So for one, red blood cells don't live forever. They live about 121 days and then they die. So whenever you have red blood cells dying, your oxygen level goes down. You could also get a cut and have blood loss. Anytime you lose red blood cells, you lose oxygen carrying capacity. If you start to exercise more, then you're going to be using up more oxygen, and so your oxygen level will go down. Or if you go to high altitude, right, such as going up in the mountains. Maybe you've heard of altitude sickness. People who aren't used to being up in the mountains, they go up in the mountains and they get sick because they don't have enough oxygen up there. The higher up you are, the less oxygen there is in the air. So any of these things could cause your oxygen level to decrease, and your kidney is going to detect this. When your kidney detects a drop in oxygen, it secretes a hormone called EPO. This stands for erythropoietin. So your kidney detects a drop in oxygen, it secretes erythropoietin. Blood cells are made in your red bone marrow. You learned this in Chapter 7. Remember that you have red bone marrow like in your skull, in your hips, in your vertebrae. It's pretty much in your torso area. EPO stimulates that red bone marrow. And it will cause the red bone marrow to make more red blood cells. So now you get more red blood cells. Well, if you have more red blood cells, you've just increased the oxygen capacity of your blood. And now you have negative feedback. This increase cancels out the decrease. And so the EPO level goes down. You stop making red blood cells and you're at homeostasis until the next time your oxygen drops. This way, you always have enough red blood cells to carry enough oxygen for you, but not too many that you make your blood too thick and then it won't flow. The other factor, besides low oxygen, that can stimulate the kidney to do this is testosterone. Testosterone will stimulate the kidney to secrete EPO. And then that will stimulate the bone marrow to make red blood cells. And then you will have higher oxygen. So the higher your testosterone level, the more red blood cells you have. So in general, men have more red blood cells than women. And that hematocrit is the measure of your red blood cells. So men tend to have higher hematocrit. The other difference you can see in hematocrit between people is based on where they live. Remember that high altitude has less oxygen in the air. So people who live at high altitude, like someone in Colorado, is going to have higher hematocrit than someone who lives at a lower altitude. At high altitude, there's less oxygen in the air, so your body has to compensate by having more red blood cells. Okay, so this process of the EPO stimulating bone marrow to make red blood cells, which affects how much oxygen you can carry, is used and manipulated. Athletes want to have lots of oxygen. Remember, you use oxygen to make ATP. When you have oxygen, you get 36 ATP. When you go into oxygen debt, you only get 2 ATP. So the more oxygen you have, the more ATP you can make. So having lots of oxygen means that they will have lots of energy. So their muscles can work better with all that energy. So a couple of things that can happen. athletes can train in Colorado. Colorado is a popular place, especially when it's Olympics time. A lot of the Olympic athletes go to Colorado to train because Colorado is high altitude. So there is less oxygen in the air. So when you go there, you will get less oxygen. That means there will be less oxygen in your blood, which will cause your kidney to secrete more EPO, which will cause your red bone marrow to make more red blood cells. And remember, they live for 120 days. So for about the next 3 months, you will have extra oxygen carrying capacity in your blood. So if you go up to Colorado, spend a few weeks there training, get that extra red blood cells, and when you come back down to lower altitude, you will still have those extra blood cells for a few months. The other thing, the second one here is illegal. This is blood doping. So there's two ways to blood dope. There's kind of the old-fashioned way and there's the more modern way. This picture shows the old-fashioned way. In the old-fashioned way, you would remove some of your own blood. So remember, blood loss will make your oxygen level go down. So by removing your own blood, your oxygen level in your blood goes down. So your kidney will detect this and secrete EPO. This causes your red bone marrow to make more red blood cells. So this just gets you back to your starting point. You replace the ones you lost. Here's the trick, is when you removed your blood, you didn't just throw it away. You put it in the refrigerator. So now that you've replaced the ones you lost, you re-inject the blood you removed. Now you have extra red blood cells. And those extra red blood cells will give you more oxygen so that you can have more ATP for your athletic event. The new, more modern way to do this is now they have EPO that you can just inject. So you can get a hold of some EPO and just inject it into yourself. You bypass your kidney. And that EPO go tell your red bone marrow to make more red blood cells, and your hematocrit will go up. The dangerous side effect of this, people can die from doing this. The danger is that you will make too many red blood cells and you will increase the viscosity. So you will make your blood too thick. And then you can clog your vessels or even give yourself a heart attack. If you go to Colorado, you're going to get some more red blood cells, but your body is, remember, maintaining balance. It's not going to make your blood too thick. If you are injecting yourself with things, you lose that homeostatic control, and you could accidentally make your blood too thick and kill yourself.